All right, let's dive into an idea that might just flip your whole perspective on work. It's called the busyness paradox, and it's all about how that hustle culture we're all supposed to admire, well, it might actually be making us worse at our jobs, and believe it or not, less of a leader.
Okay, let me ask you something. Does this sound at all familiar? Your calendar looks like a game of Tetris gone wrong, just wall-to-wall meetings. Your inbox is a disaster zone. And yet, you've got this sinking feeling that you're just spinning your wheels, not actually gaining any ground. If you're nodding along right now, stick with me. You're definitely in the right place.
So here's the real issue, right? In the modern workplace, we've got a huge problem. We've started confusing activity with achievement. It's like we're all wearing our exhaustion like some kind of badge of honor. Our entire work culture is obsessed with looking busy, the frantic typing, the back-to-back calls, instead of the actual, meaningful progress that only comes from deep, focused thinking.
So let's really unpack this thing. Let's call it the busyness paradox trap. Because that's what it is, a trap. And it's way more than just feeling overworked. It's this whole cultural thing, this shift in how we see and show our own worth. And honestly, it's a trap that so many of us fall right into, without even noticing.
Okay, so here's the paradox laid out plain and simple. We're all running like crazy on this hamster wheel of activity, right? All to prove how valuable we are. But while we're doing that, we're actually throwing away the very things that make someone a real leader. That strategic focus, that clarity, that sense of calm. It's literally like winning a bunch of tiny, meaningless battles while completely, totally losing the war.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. Just look at how deep this goes. Our brains are hardwired now to see a busy person and just automatically think, wow, they must be competent, ambitious, they're in high demand. It's like we've completely flipped the script. It used to be all about the leisure class, right? Now it's about the busy class. We're basically showing off how much of our own time we can burn through.
But all this hustle and grind, it comes with a price, a really steep one, and a lot of it is hidden. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's look at the actual science of what this constant state of motion is doing to our brains.
Okay, this concept right here is an absolute game changer. It's called attention residue. See, your brain isn't like a light switch you can just flick on and off. When you jump from one task to another, a little piece of your attention gets left behind, still stuck on the last thing you were doing. It creates this mental fog that just makes you worse at the next thing, and the next thing after that.
And we're not talking about a small dip in performance here. This isn't just a minor thing. The impact is absolutely staggering. We're talking about a potential 40% drop in your productivity. Just let that number sink in. 40%. I mean, seriously, what could you accomplish if you got almost half of your day back just by not constantly switching gears?
And it gets crazier. 23 minutes. That's how long it can take your brain to fully get back in the zone after just one tiny distraction. So that quick check of your email? Yeah, it's not quick. It just cost you almost half an hour of your best thinking. Gone. Poof. Every single time.
And you might think, oh, that's just me. Nope. This goes all the way to the top. Check this out. CEOs, the people whose entire job is to think big, to be strategic, they're spending less than 3% of their time actually doing it. Less than 3%. It just goes to show even the people in charge are caught in the exact same reactive, busy trap.
And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it does. Because this isn't just about losing focus. There's a much deeper, more primal thing happening. All that constant stress can trigger something called an amygdala hijack. Basically, your brain's ancient survival center, your fight-or-flight response, just takes over. It bypasses all the smart, rational parts of your brain. And suddenly, you're not leading anymore. You're just reacting. You ever sent a really snippy email and regretted it 2 seconds later? Yeah, that was your amygdala.
Okay, so we've painted a pretty grim picture, I know. We've seen the problem, we've seen the hidden costs. But the good news is, there is an answer. And it's not some fancy new productivity app or, heaven forbid, working even harder. The real solution, it's about doing less, but doing it with way more intention.
And here it is, the heart of it all. The antidote is something called the strategic pause. I want you to think of it like a circuit breaker for your brain. It's that tiny, deliberate moment you create, that little gap between something happening to you and you reacting to it. And that gap, that tiny space, is where all the magic happens. That's where real authority is built. And here's something you can literally start doing right now, today. It's called the 3-breath rule. It's so simple.
Before you respond to that stressful email or answer that tough question in a meeting, just stop. Take one slow breath in, then another, and a third. That's it. That simple act sends a signal to your nervous system that you're not in danger. It calms that amygdala down and lets the smart, rational part of your brain take the wheel again.
All right, so let's zoom out a bit. We're going to take this really simple technique, the pause, and blow it up into a whole leadership philosophy. Because when you truly master the power of the pause, you start to develop this incredible quality called executive presence. I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you have the busy leader. They're basically a walking anxiety machine. They make their team anxious, their meetings are a mess, they're always defensive. Then you've got the intentional leader. They create safety. They're the calm in the storm, they listen, they inspire trust. So the question is really simple. Which one of those people do you want to work for? And more importantly, which one do you want to be? And listen, this is not just some feel-good, abstract idea. We're talking about real-world heavy hitters here. Take Bill Gates. He's famous for his think weeks. He literally goes off the grid, total isolation, in a cabin somewhere with nothing but a stack of papers and books. No calls, no emails, and guess what? It was during one of those think weeks that he had the massive insight that Microsoft needed to pivot its entire strategy towards this new thing called the internet. Yeah, big stuff. And this quote, this just nails it. Perspective hindsight. What a cool phrase. It's the idea that you can kind of look back on the future before it happens. You can see where things are headed, but you can't get that perspective when you're buried in the noise and the chaos of daily operations. There's just no way. You have to step back. You have to get quiet. And here's another great example. A totally different style. Steve Jobs. He was famous for his walking meetings, and it wasn't just about getting some steps in. He knew that when you walked next to someone, side by side, it completely changes the dynamic. It breaks down the hierarchy. The conversation becomes more open, more creative, more honest than it ever could be sitting across a big, intimidating conference table. And again, this isn't just some quirky Steve Jobs thing. The science actually backs this up big time. Stanford researchers found that a simple walk can boost your creative output by an average of 60%. 60! It's such a simple hack. You're not trying to do more, you're trying to think better. Okay, so let's bring this home and talk about the future. Because this whole idea, the ability to be still, to pause, it's not just a nice little wellness tip anymore. Honestly, it's becoming a critical survival skill for the future of work.
I want you to get ready for a brand new type of busyness. It's a term you're going to start hearing everywhere, AI workslop. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that soul-destroying, mind-numbing work of cleaning up the mess, correcting the endless, low-quality, just plain wrong stuff that AI pumps out at lightning speed. And if you're not careful, that slop is going to drown you.
And this is where we hit a real crisis point. Look, unmanageable workloads are already the #1 cause of burnout. That's a fact. And this AI workslop, well, it's about to pour a giant can of gasoline on that fire. Your only defense, your only way to survive this is going to be your ability to pause, to think strategically, and to be absolutely ruthless about what's important and what's just noise.
So let's end with a question. A challenge, really. We live in a world that is screaming at you to go faster, do more, respond now. But real authority, real influence, that belongs to the people who have the courage to be still. So the next time you feel that frantic pull of busyness, just stop and ask yourself one thing. Am I in control right now, or am I just reacting? The choice is yours. The power is in the pause.